Darnell Wright officially agreed to a 4-year, $116 million contract extension with $93 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid right tackle in NFL history. And there have been some weird reactions to it. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But Darnell Wright had a response to it himself, and I got really excited about it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Tyrique Stevenson also addressed his contract situation and says that his goal is to become the best cornerback on the Chicago Bears roster. Can he do that? Plus, we're going to talk about some of the standouts from day 6 of Chicago Bears practice, and we're going to dive into the mailbag. All that and more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. And Darnell Wright, we talked about it yesterday. We had a breaking news episode yesterday. He signed a 4-year, $116 million extension. And, that's an average of $29 million annually. And now he's under contract till 2030, which means the Bears basically have him under contract through the majority of his prime. Now, we've seen players play well into their 30s. Shout out to Joe Tooney. And, Darnell Wright could very well be on that trajectory. But it's good to get a guy locked in here who's homegrown, who we developed. And he went through some crazy shit. Like when you look at some of the offensive lines that we've had, some of the coaching blunders that we've had here, the fact that Darnell Wright has continually gotten better every single season has been huge, right? So now you have him locked in until 2030, which means that he'll be 30 years old. That contract expires as well. Like, you have him locked in through what's supposed to be his natural prime. Now, with how good he is and still becoming, the fact that he isn't even done developing yet, that goes a long way to say that, who knows what the ceiling is for Darnell Wright, but he is now the highest paid right tackle in the game of football, and it's well-deserved. I seen somebody lift the comment like, well, that's too much to pay for a right tackle. Why are you spending that much on a right tackle? Like, the thing that I get, right, and this always happens with the Chicago Bears community every single time. It never, ever fails with the Chicago Bears community. There's always somebody who has some doubt about something, and that are a segment of people that's like, what would you like us to let him walk away? Like, he was going to get that money. NFL money has changed. I think that's the first thing. A lot of people have not adjusted to the fact that NFL money is not what it used to be looked at, right? Like, people are getting paid way more than they ever did before. But then on top of that, like, you have one of the best at his position in the entirety of the NFL. Not even just one of the best right tackles. Darnell Wright is one of the best tackles in the game of football. You play players like that to stay there. That's what you do. You want to be able, I said it before in yesterday's episode, that you identify talent, you develop talent, you retain talent. That is the goal of every team, is you identify talent, you retain talent. You develop talent and you retain talent. That's what you need to do. Darnell Wright is a guy that's definitely shown his ability and his propensity to continue to get better. Like I said, he developed amongst times where our offensive line was absolute ass. And then you have Dan Rouchar. Dan Rouchar, one of the guys, the most world-renowned offensive line coaches in the world, that identified very early on, like, hey, say what y'all will. That dude got a job for me. And that's huge in regards to that. So, and I love the message that he had. He made a quick post afterwards saying, what up, Bear fans? It's Darnell Wright here. Excited to get my extension done. Let's get it. Go Bears. That's it. Let's get it. Go Bears. The right mindset, the right mentality. This is a guy that was a 10th overall pick. And if a lot of you guys are holding yourself accountable to what you thought the Bears played it lazy when they didn't draft Jalen Carter and they traded down. Now look at it. You have Darnell Wright, who has turned into one of the best tackles in the game of football, and he's not done yet. You look at what he's done so far, right? He was a big part of the Bears having the 3rd best rushing attack in the NFL. Allowed the 2nd-fewest sacks. And he was 2nd team All-Pro in regards to that too. Like, what Darnell Wright does in both the pass protection and run game is huge. He is a part of the identity of this Bears team. And I know offensive linemen aren't always the sexiest position to have there because people kind of overlook it. I said it on yesterday's episode. Typically with offensive linemen, when they do their job, people kind of overlook it because, they're blocking, they're doing that type of thing, and they're looking more at the result that it gets for the skill position players. And even that, at some point, I do think like we got to stop calling offensive linemen non-skill position players, but especially with how people are looking at speed and everything now. Like there takes a lot of skill to play on an offensive line and to excel at an offensive line. I get it. It's the trenches. It's a lot of brutes in there. It's a lot of a lot of grunge work being done in there. But it's not like you don't have players with skill on the offensive line and defensive line for that matter. You do have to have skill. But for what it is, Darnell Wright, the Bears didn't pay Darnell Wright for what he could become anymore. They paid him for what he is. And even with what he is, he's still not done growing as a player. And that's what makes this so special because, yeah, you're paying him because he's become one of the best tackles in football. But he is not done growing. He's not done, developing. He's not done doing those type of things. Like last season was his first year with a real coaching staff. Now, how do you take it a step further? Especially now working the second season with Dan Rouchar. Hey, the sky's the limit for Darnell Wright. I'm glad that he's in the Chicago Bears uniform. And people that are hating or are concerned about the deal or whatever else it is, listen, you pay to retain talent. That's it. And you figure out the rest later. But with that said, another Chicago Bears up, the contract's up at the end of the season, and that's Tyrique Stevenson. And while Tyrique Stevenson has been in a place where a lot of people have been questioning his job, we'll talk a little bit about that when we end the show, talking about some of the position battles that have already been decided. But Tyrique Stevenson is a guy that I said on yesterday's episode, I just want to see Tyrique Stevenson get back to beating wide receivers up. Like, I want to see him be physical. I want to see him have a dominating presence. That's it, right? And, he's had some moments where he's flashed absolute greatness. And there's been some moments where he's flashed looking absolutely terrible. But for what it's worth, people are looking at Tyrique Stevenson and having the same question we had about Jaquan Brisker last season. What does Tyrique need to do to get another contract with the Bears? And even if he does that, there's still a world and a real possibility that he still may not get a deal. But for what it's worth, Tyrique Stevenson was asked about his contract situation, and he said this: I'm not a real down the road thinker. Honestly, I want to come in here and my goal is to be the best corner on this team, except Jalen Johnson. I just want to help this team win. Me doing that and being a selfless guy for this team, everything would work itself out. And you need Tyrique Stevenson to step up. Say what you will. I know that, Tyrique has earned a lot of, vitriol from some Bears fans and with some of his actions, and I completely understand that. I'm not defending that. But for a secondary that's already gotten hit with injuries, Kobe Bryant's going to miss 8 to 10 weeks. He may miss the first month and a half of the season. Kyler Gordon's still not healthy and out there on the football field yet. A Tyrique Stevenson that comes in here understands the moment of what he needs and how important the defensive backs are to what Dennis Allen wants to do. So now that you have Kobe Bryant that's gone, which means Cam Lewis is going to have to step into that safety role. You have Jalen Jones who's stepping into the nickel. Looks like right now he's competing for the nickel. Malik Muhammad. We'll talk about that more in a second. Tyrique Stevenson has a hugely important role here. You are the starting cornerback too. And while you've always split those duties with Terrell Smith, who's also on your heels, make no mistake about it, Tyrique is not, it's important that he doesn't shy away from what this season means for Tyrique. This is a make or break season for Tyrique Stevenson. It is. Now, while he does appear to have some control over that cornerback 2 role, more on that in a second, he wants to be the best corner on this team. And listen, I love that he said, there's respect to his teammate to say, except Jalen Johnson. Fuck that. I want you to go out there and be the best corner on this team, period. I want you to attack it with that mindset. You have to improve. And the things that Tyrique Stevenson has to do, consistency and discipline. Tyrique Stevenson is a perfectly solid starting corner. But the inconsistency and the lack of discipline at times, it takes away from those things. So, of course, a strong season from Tyrique Stevenson can mean that he could earn a significant contract, whether it be with the Bears or be with another team that's always like, but come out here and play your best. This is a team that the defense, everybody's talking about the lack of improvement that we made on the defense, talking about the defense being what could potentially hold this team back. I would love for Tyrique Stevenson to come into here to understand what the moment is and have one of his best seasons. Have your best season this year. And let the chips fall where they may at that. Maybe we can afford to retain you, maybe we can't. But leave it all out there on the on the court on the field. Because I tell you what, the raw physical talent that Tyrique Stevenson is still there. And it's still a dynamic that adds so much depth to this Bears team to have a guy that can be that physical in what Tyrique Stevenson can do. That dude can beat wide receivers the fuck up, like I keep saying. And that's what you should want to see from Tyrique Stevenson. Go out there and beat him up. Like, that's it. Go out there and beat him up. Be disciplined in that, right? Make it difficult. When I said it before, what I want to see from this defense this year is I want to see that physical play. I want to see teams feel it when they play the Chicago Bears. Tyrique Stevenson could be a huge part of that identity for the Bears if he just locks in. And so hopefully that's there. And throughout, the benching, which the coaching staff already admitted, like maybe we shouldn't have benched him when we did. But throughout all of that, now take your game a step further, young fella, and let's see if he can do that. With that said, though, I want to talk about the standouts from yesterday's practice, which there were some. Yesterday's practice, by the way, was the defense's best day. The defense got the best of the offense for the first time in this offseason period. And this is about the time where you expect to see that, right? Like the non-padded practices are always going to be more beneficial to the skill position players. But now with the pads on, and this is the second padded practice, the Bears defense stood out. And that's what you like to see. Getting interceptions on Caleb Williams, stopping them on the 2-minute drill, those type of things. So it was good to hear, before we get into the specific player standout, it's good to hear that the defense, had that battle with the offense. Now, it's going to be, I've said this on yesterday's live stream, it's going to be back and forth now. You're going to hear a day where it's the offense's day. You're going to hear a day where it's the defense's day. It's going to go back and forth, right? But that's the battles that you want to have. Iron sharpens iron. And the benefit that this defense has is that they're coming up against one of the offenses that should be elite this season. Use that to sharpen your skill. Use that to get you ready and prepared for what the season is going to be ahead of you. Because if you do, then listen, you're playing, you get one of the best offenses in the game day in and day out to practice against. You better damn well use that to put you in a position to get ready for some of these other offenses in the league. So it was good to hear that. But let's talk about some of the specific standouts. Number one, Luther Burden continues to stand out. And it's the thing right now. He's coming in as one of the most hyped receivers in the 2026 season, in the offseason so far, not just on the Bears team, but one of the most hyped receivers, period. Now, with that, it comes with some benefits and negatives, right? Like, there's going to be some people that are going to say, they're waiting to say, I told you so, if Luther Burden stumbles outside the gates. That's the reality of it. But from what it's worth, Luther Burden made a one-handed grab during the 11-on-11s with Jalen Jones guarding him in coverage. It was a bullet pass from Caleb Williams in regards to that one. He also was heavily involved during the hurry-up offense as well. In that one, according to the scores, Chris Emma, though his final play was a drop thanks to a big hit by Devin Bush, even with that, it was a solid day for Luther Burden overall. So you love to hear that for Luther Burden. Next up, and a player that has garnered a lot of jokes from the Chicago Bears community, and that's Dayo Odeyingbo. Reportedly, Dayo Odeyingbo had a great day yesterday in practice, right? Zach Pearson saw this. Dayo Odeyingbo nabbed an interception off Tyson Bagent. Odeyingbo has been playing inside as of late and took advantage of a batted ball to come away with a pick. Playing inside may be the best option for Dayo as he works to make an impact in year 2 of his tenure with the Bears. If you've been watching me for a while, I've been talking about that. They plan to move Dayo Odeyingbo more to the interior. With his size and stuff there, he's a better pass rusher on the interior, better run stopper on the exterior, on the edge. So, moving Dayo to the interior may be what ends up working out best for the Bear team, best for him. I still think it's going to be a uphill battle for him to, stay on the contract at the end of the season. But hearing that Dayo Odeyingbo was one of the standouts yesterday, good. I think that's what you want to hear from Dayo. At this point, that is exactly where you want Dayo Odeyingbo to be. And, he's playing with the second team. That's probably going to be his role here. Can you dominate in that, right? Can you be an elite depth guy? We've talked a lot about Neville Gallimore. We talked about Jordan Vandenberg and how he can work himself in there. When you look at Dayo, if the Bears can find some semblance of value out that contract at the size of contract that they gave him, he's still going to play some on the edge too. He's not going to play exclusively on the interior. They're just moving him more towards the interior of this. I think Dayo is more probably in a role that's better suited to him. And, we'll see if that comes out in during the season. Next up, Devin Bush. Devin Bush was also a standout in yesterday's practice as well. He had that big hit on Luther Burden that caused that drop with it as well. He had a pass breakup on Caleb Williams also. Then he got some pressure on Caleb Williams, had him scrambling, as well in that. So Brad Biggs of the Chicago Tribune said that Devin Bush chased down Williams in the pocket, making life stressful for the young signal caller. He also saw Bush get after quarterback multiple times, something that isn't easy for traditional linebackers to do against Caleb Williams. That's a direct quote from Brad Biggs. Here's what I'll say. Devin Bush, we knew that he was adding speed to the team. When Dennis Allen talked about adding speed and tackling, those are the two things that Devin Bush is going to excel at and be able to bring theoretically to this team right away. And so you hope that that's going to continue. Like, hearing that Devin Bush is starting to stand out as well is really good. We need these linebackers to be on point this year. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. We need our linebackers to be on point. And hopefully Devin Bush is a big part of why the Bears linebackers can do that, and that linebacking core can take it a bit further too. But overall, training camp seemed to be a really good day yesterday. A lot of good takeaways. There was an injury scare as well. There was some other things going on in that case. But overall, like, this is what you want to get to. This is where you want to be right now if you're the Chicago Bears. And I think what we're getting into right now is that the Bears are building an identity, both offensively and defensively. And that's all you can ask for in regards to this one is up. Like, the physicality reportedly kicked up in day 6. That's what you want, is to continue ramp up. And while the offense had a rough day, there's no reason to be down on the offense right now. There was also a big focus on the 13-man personnel. That came from Courtney Cronin that said it's a clear emphasis. It's going to be running out of the 13. So listen, 13-man personnel is going to be a weapon for the Bears this year. And hearing also that Sam Roush is getting worked into that passing game very early on, that's what you want to hear. So those things are going the way that they should be going for the Bears right now. Salvon Ahmed as well, continue to flashing, adding more depth to that running back room, which then gets us to our last topic of the day for the episode, is that the position battles. We came into the season expecting a few position battles. A lot of those, by what we're hearing, are already determined, right? Number one, the center battle is already over. Garrett Bradbury is going to be the starting center. Seems like there's no more question in that, right? Of course, Logan Jones may end up being the starting center by the end of the season. But for anybody that was still holding out hope or questioning, Garrett Bradbury is going to be the starting center, and that makes sense. Having a guy that's a veteran, not having to worry about a rookie and their adaptation to the system, because you have the luxury of giving him a year to develop, I won't say redshirt. Redshirt isn't the right term because it's not like he's not going to be playing football games. He's going to be playing, right? But you don't have to thrust him in to be a starter for you immediately, and you get to bring him along a little bit more slowly, a little bit more in structure. I think that's smart. The left tackle battle. It seems like it's Braxton Jones to lose, right? But we are hearing that Kieran Amagaje is still getting almost as many opportunities as Braxton Jones. Jedrick Wills is also still in the conversation as he's now fully healthy also. But it does feel like Braxton Jones right now is the favorite. And they haven't called it. It feels like he's the favorite. And that, I think, makes a lot of sense based off what we've seen, what we've heard, and where the team is in reality, is that you want that guy to be it. As far as the wide receiver 3 position, another position we came into training camp, wondering what was going to happen. Khalif Raymond seems to be the wide receiver 3. Everybody that's been at training camp feels confident in the way that he's been utilized, the way they've been talking about him. He's going to be the wide receiver 3 with Jade Walker and Xavier Thomas. While they're making plays in training camp and they're going to be, getting snaps in the rotation, right now everybody's behind Khalif Raymond, and I think that makes sense. While you're trying to replace the consistency of DJ Moore, having a veteran that understands the system in Khalif Raymond being there is going to be a big part of that. But just because if he's named as a starting wide receiver 3 now, it doesn't mean that may be what happens at the end of the season. But as it stands right now, Khalif Raymond looks to be there. The nickel corner situation is still raging on. Right now, Jalen Jones seems to be the guy that may be the front runner, but reportedly Jalen Jones, Josh Blackwell, and Malik Muhammad are all guys that are battling for that nickel spot, and that the verdict may not be determined until week 1. They may go through the entirety of training camp before they name that guy, because the Bears are still hopeful that Kyler Gordon is going to be reported and be back before week 1. And then in that case, he's going to be the starting nickel. And then you have depth guys behind him, because you still need a lot of those. You still need your cornerback room and your defensive back room to have a lot of depth because of what Dennis Allen likes to do. But it seems like right now, Jalen Jones may be ahead of the pack if Kyler Gordon's not healthy. If Kyler Gordon does become healthy between now and week 1, then he's going to be the starting nickel. And then the cornerback 2 position seems like it's over. Tyrique Stevenson is going to be the cornerback 2. Everything that we're hearing through practice, that he's the guy that has won that position. Now it's a question of can he hold on to it, right? So we'll see. The guys like Terrell Smith still going to press him for that. Malik Muhammad is still kind of there waiting in the wings, but it could very well be that they allow the season to go through Tyrique Stevenson and they allow him to go through his lumps and bruises. Now, if Tyrique does get benched again this year, that may be it for him, right? As far as like no contract extension, they may just go ahead and ride with one of the other guys and start preparing for life without Tyrique Stevenson if that happens. I'm not saying that that's going to happen for sure, but it's an if and a possibility that could be out there for the Chicago Bears at that cornerback 2 position. And that's really it, right? There doesn't seem to really be any other position battles. Seems like the Bears have kind of settled in to who their expected rotation is at each one of these spots. And then at that point, it's just building off of that and preparing for the season, going through preseason and those type of things. And, getting through preseason, hopefully without anybody getting injured. That's, again, knock on wood. We don't want anybody getting hurt in preseason at all. And hopefully that's the case for the Chicago Bears team. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Make sure you guys sound off down below. Let me know how you guys feel about everything that we talked about and covered on today's episode. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. You can follow us at Chi Bear Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, chicagobearcentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. But that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like we'd like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.